And we are live back to another Your Bold Voice LinkedIn Live. Okay, all my guests, I'm biased. I love all my guests, but I got a I have a favorite today. And here's what's even more beautiful. Not only are my husband and I are up north this week, but I get this infectious smile from my guests today. So it's like I have the full complete cake, so to speak. But anyways, everybody, welcome back to another Your Bold Voice LinkedIn Live. This is episode 5 in season 2. I have one more episode. And we're completing season 2. Wow, that went by way too fast. But so, Rasie, hang tight right there. Hold tight.
Okay.
I will introduce you very formally here in a moment. I just wanted to take a minute here, and I see everybody starting to come on LinkedIn Live. I want to say a couple of things. If you are listening live, we do not know you are there unless you put a comment in the comments of the live, and then we see you. So I see a few of you popping up. Please do not be offended if myself or Rasie we don't acknowledge you, because I'm here to focus on my guest in this show. So will we bring some things in throughout the show? Absolutely. If you have questions, get them in the comments, because we will address them. So I just want to say thank you all for joining us, who is here, and welcome back to another fascinating female who's busting those comfort zones and doing risk taking. And she really, truly is owning her bold voice on her terms. I'm in awe of this. My guest, Rasie, was born in Sierra Leone, lived in Gambia before moving to Vancouver, Canada. Her leadership journey started when she started playing sports, Girls Guide, and acting in school. Plays in elementary school. She has always been driven to do more than what is expected of her. She does not know how to do things halfway. She needs to always give her 100% and more, hence that beautiful smile. Leading in her terms during her employment at McDonald's, Starbucks, HMS host, and more, her leadership role was challenged frequently, and this kept her moving and impacting lives for the better. Her passion for people development, paving the way for the next generation of leaders, and to be that best that she can be will always be her driving force towards her goals. Rasie is a passionate leadership coach, helping corporate leaders and business leaders lead their teams more effectively through their self-leadership. She has also wrote and published her first book, Lead in Your Truth, this year, and has inspired more leaders to take action to lead their lives and teams more effectively. By the way, everybody here and listening, you can get her book on Amazon.com. Let me say the title again one more time. Lead in Your Truth on Amazon.com. Go grab your book. And welcome, Rasie. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Kim. I'm so excited.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And again, as everyone's logging in, thank you everybody for joining us. I'm seeing some beautiful faces out there that are joining us on this Tuesday. So let's dive in.
Okay.
And I'm going to be very transparent.
Yes.
You and I, we work together, so I do know a lot. So I'm going to dive in and go, all right, let's just start talking about, you have shared with me your leadership past. Take me back to when your mom was visiting you in Canada and you were in that position, and what was going on in that leadership role.
So, to start off, I was part of a store opening, and I had been working. I was at 30 days straight. So when my mom came to visit, I was at 21 days at the time, and I was working 12-hour days, barely sleeping because I go to bed at nighttime. I'm still thinking about what I need to do the next day at work. So there's like my life battery is 100%. And at that time, 90% of my life battery was at work. And 10%, which is usually not as productive, not as present. And that's what I gave to my late husband at the time and my mom when she came to visit. And, like when she came down, I'm like, yes, I'll probably will be able to hang out with her in the evenings and stuff like that. But I come home after 12-hour day, I'm just exhausted. And this is like the moment for me when my mom was leaving. I remember being inside the store that I had opened and just in tears. And she's sitting at security about to check boarding for her flight. And I'm in tears, I'm crying. And I remember my staff asking, like, why are you crying? And I'm like, my mom came down and visited for 7 days. And I did not get to be fully present and spend time with her. I spent half a day. And that half a day I spent with her, I was completely exhausted. I was tired. And and as I was going with that 21 days straight and past 30 days, I was looking forward to a promotion, and a promotion that I was promised. And as I went, that really drove like my momentum. It elevated, like, my speed. And I always give my 100%, but this was different. I was like, yes, I get to look forward to this. Like, I just got to show up and just show like what I have, what I'm capable of. And as the moment came for me to get that promotion, I hear from somebody else that somebody else was hired on to that position. It crushed me. It crushed me. Like, in that moment, I was angry, I was sad, I was upset. And then I reflected back the time that I've missed with my mom being down here for about a week. And it really helped me reflect on the things that I've done and what do I do pivoting forward. Like, yes, this hurts. Let's just be here for a moment, fully embrace like that pain, right? And the other part, like, I went home, and the moment I stepped in the door, my late husband, Yusuf, literally just knew. Like, I wasn't crying. It was just like my shoulders just dropped. And I remember him just embracing me in his arms and just letting me know that it's going to be okay. And in that moment as well, like, I'm still reflecting, paused, and okay, what am I going to do moving forward? And with this experience, it really motivated me to look at self care and also celebrate small wins. Because when you miss those little steps and those opportunities, it's very hard when you miss that big win at the end or whatever you're looking forward to.
You know, it's first of all, I heard so many golden nuggets in there is, being in that pain and embracing the pain. We're such a society of bad emotions, good emotions, bad emotions, swipe them underneath the cupboard and, the carpet and let them grow really big. And then we just, no, we ignore all of that. And learning how to embrace our sensations, not just stay in, the fears and the nerves and I'm a failure and oh my God, this is painful and all that, but bringing it down and embracing all the sensations. And I know you are, Rasie, I know you're very, very, very good at that. And we'll get to some other things here in a bit. But I want to stay here is, you're staying present, showing up and being 100% present. And, the whole story, here's what I hear. And I've done this, by the way, in corporate when I was in corporate. And I think that was in my before life because it was so long ago,
Yeah.
is we give ourselves away. We give
Mhm.
our voices away. We take on what we think society expects of us.
Yes.
And then, oh, those nasty OPOs I talk about, those other people's opinions
Yeah.
that we wear like my favorite Athleta yoga pants, those buttery yoga pants. And we embrace those and then we beat the hell up out of ourselves to the ground and back.
Yeah.
and then we don't even get what we were after.
Yeah.
We don't receive that. And then we miss, I'm going to stay here for a second. We miss those golden opportunities. And I'm a believer, we cannot create golden opportunities. We have to be present for the golden opportunities.
Hmm.
And we also have to be prepared for, uh, life things that happen that, like for an example, we
Yeah.
have to manage our schedules. We have to manage ourselves as you talk about self-care. And we're going to jump in here too.
Yeah.
Because I like self-care and soul care. And you do both, in my opinion. You do both.
I love it.
We need to manage our schedules so they're not so damn jam packed, which I
Hmm.
used to do. And then we get an unforeseen obstacle, AKA driving down the street, flat tire. Oops. In my case, aging parents. And in your case, something that personally happened to you, which we are going to bring this up, but we will in a moment. So let's come back. When you saw that and you went home and your stuff embraced you and you were able to break down like that and cry, and what an amazing man I'm sure he was, to be able to intuitively pick up your energy like that,
Yeah.
um, to embrace you and hold you so you can cry. I'm all about crying because we get to
Yeah.
shed. We shed.
It feels good after.
It does. It's like, oh, I just lost 100 pounds of all this stuff I've been carrying around, that have been putting on me. What were your next steps after that? What did you do?
I I actually made so there was like a decision in probably like 2 years before that. Myself and my late husband were like, okay, let's move out of town so that we can save money and be able to buy our first home in Vancouver. And the path we were going, that wasn't going to happen anytime soon. So that situation that happened prompted me to make that decision sooner because he was just waiting on me, right? And because I have all these career goals and I have all these like this dream of, getting that next promotion or making more impact in people's lives. And I love my city. I love Vancouver. So it was a really hard decision for me to make. And that's when we moved to Fort McMurray. And for me, when I got to Fort McMurray, like that was the first couple 2-3 weeks was really, really tough. Like I definitely was like going through like a minor depression, not being in the city, not knowing everybody that I knew, and not walking into like a coffee shop or a restaurant and someone saying hi, Rasie. That was like really hard. And also with the weather, it was cold. It gets up to -47. I'm like, this is like just it's not even normal. But I had to adapt. I had to make new friends and I had to open up a new Starbucks location at the time. And I had to learn how to wake up a little bit earlier so that I can warm up my car while I get ready for work. And it's like one opportunity leads onto the other. Like things happen for a reason. And the amount of growth that I experienced in Fort McMurray and the amount of lives that I impacted, the relationships that I built with people in Fort McMurray, I take that with me for a very long time. And it's a big part of me. I started to lead in my own way. I started to lead in my truth and I started to embrace every part of me as a leader and as a person and not really caring about like what's that other person's opinion. And that was that result of what happened in Vancouver and led me to that.
So beautiful how you are always talking about leading in your truth, which is the title of your book. And everybody on here, please go over to Amazon.com and order Leading Your Truth. And very transparently, Kim has not done that because Kim wants a hand smooshy delivered from Rasie with her
Tell me.
signature on it. Uh, yes. And her bold voice just spoke. So those are my words. But for all of you on here, go on over and order that book. And let's support a sister, number one. And number two, I have not read the book, but knowing Rasie, I know there's a lot of gold and amazing nuggets in there as well. So what do you see the most that's I almost want to say misfiring, misaligning in leadership within corporations, that a lot of that, some of your experience that has turned you around to be this leading your truth leadership amazeballs coach that you are with our emerging leaders and then our also current leaders, because I know you work within both realm. What do you see as the most out of a line, misfiring, unauthentic thing that you see out there?
Honestly, Kim, there's so many. The one that really drove me nuts, like from the moment I started working at McDonald's, and I definitely did not understand it, and I followed it, like that concept. I'll share it in a second, and then I started to question it, and then I started to do things differently to disrupt that. And that concept is, we act a certain way when our top leadership is around, and then we perform a different way when no one's watching. And I think it's BS. Excuse my language, but
Your bold voice, bring it on.
I know, it's like, just let it out.
No apologies necessary.
Just in case my niece is watching.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. But it's like, if you're gonna show up the way that you're as a leader, it should be the same way you show up personally, and the same way you show up professionally. And maybe in a professional setting, you might have to like tone it or raise up the volume depending on the setting that you're in. So I actually had like a situation where I asked like my director of operations at the time. And so we had top leadership visiting from out of town, and we're getting all the stores ready. Like, we're cleaning, and we're, making sure the store looks sparkle, like checking all our staff's uniform, make sure there's name tags and all that stuff. And I took a moment, like, did it cross my mind I might lose my job after asking this question? Absolutely did. But I did it anyways, just for the message we're sending to our teams, the message we're sending to everybody in the organization, in the company. And I was like, okay, if we put in so much effort on top leadership from outside of the country visiting, but we don't put in the same effort into how we're leading right now, and for our customers that are actually the reason why we're in business, how does that translate in how we lead in the first place? Like, I'm like, I just need an answer. And I was told it's just what it is. That's what is expected. And I'm not okay with that. So I started to, lead differently, and really just like reminding my staff that what we're doing here is like for our customers. It's for your teams, that other team member that is across from you doing similar job, but like contributing to that outcome, like that product that we put out there. And I don't know, and the reason why I question it's like, it's integrity as well, because I'm going to do the right thing because this is right for me at this time. It's comfortable for me, but I'm going to just like change that course just because this is not comfortable for me. And there's unfortunately, a lot of leaders out there that are just doing things because it's right for them in that moment, even if it doesn't help their team, even if it's sending the wrong perception, it's sending the wrong message to that team saying that, yeah, it's okay for you to change your mind as a leader and change how you want to lead. You don't need to do it authentically. It kind of hit, like, I get emotional sometimes, like when I think of it. And I think that's a huge reason why I'm very passionate about my work, because I really want to shed light on that and help leaders just show up the way they are in all settings. It's so much like it's just more productive, right?
I see a lot of this, and I'm not in corporate, and I haven't been in corporate in years. Like I was saying, it's a before life for me. Uh, but I work with women in corporate, and I always hear women ask me, I'm in corporate. How can I really push forth my voice? Well, look, and I don't mean to minimize this or belittle this. Of course, you don't come flying in to a meeting and tell everyone to F off or
No.
whatever like that. No, you don't. But there's a way to really own the transparency and the authenticity and the vulnerability of your voice in corporate, and not be completely out of line of what your personal life is all about. So when you were just talking about all of this, Rasie, I'm like, oh my God, I got Brene Brown on my show today. She sounds like Brene Brown. I mean, but it's true. How we show up at the grocery store,
Mhm,
in a meeting,
mhm.
whether we're an entrepreneur, a business owner, whatever, or in corporate, elevating those ceilings, breaking
Yeah.
whatever languaging you all want to use out there this
Yeah.
morning. Um, if we're different in one role than we are to the next, hang on, let me get close to my microphone here, my
Yeah.
headset today. You're misfiring, and you will cause stress and burnout. Okay, and that goes back to a lot of the fake it until you make it. Okay,
Yeah.
and listen, and I hope your niece forgives us all. But my initials are Kim BS, and it doesn't mean as in BS. It means Kim Beautiful Self. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna call the BS when women,
Yeah.
and I hear this still from women, fake it. You gotta fake it until you make it. That's BS, because
It
when
is.
you're faking it, you're faking it,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you're showing up fake, and you will attract the fake. You will
Yes.
talk the fake, and you will go home and you will collapse and not be present like Rasie was with that one job that and not that I don't want to insinuate that you were being fake and stuff like that, but and driving that and pushing that, and then you take on, like I was saying, the OPOs and
Yeah.
societal standards that which that's our inner critic, our hag in the attic, that is all placing that on us. And then we
Yeah.
start embracing the imposter syndrome. By the way, fake it until you make it. Its personality is the imposter syndrome, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's all thread in there. But so how I'm a big proponent on we women, and we need men too. I don't want to
Yes.
leave men out too. That we women, if you want to make changes, you have to take the steps
Mhm.
and pioneer the change and be willing for the type of outcome.
Yeah.
So can you think back, how did you start shifting when you were feeling so off, Resi, and start shifting and leading in your truth in your roles? And I mean, did you get slack from people, or did you get some, pom poms, rah rah from people?
It's okay, so first of all, like I don't know, like it's just like my personality. I'll make ridiculous jokes. Like some of it are not funny, but people laugh with me just because I'm just having fun with myself. And when I was in like a professional setting, like I kind of held that back sometimes. Or I'll say something in a meeting and I start to question myself, like, oh, how did they take that? Nobody responded. Or in situations where I'm in a meeting, I'm putting my hand up to say something, and they're asking everybody else, and anybody else? Whoo, that crushes. Like that hit me like personally. And I'm like, oh, I must not be doing something right. Like I need to do something different. And for me, when I met like one of my mentors, Enid, she just showed up as she was, and she'll make jokes and she'll have like just a blast with like all the customers, and it's just that personality and just letting letting herself just be, right? And embracing that. And I saw that happen and I'm like, oh my gosh. And that was in Fort McMurray. It's like, oh my gosh, I can show up as I am. I can just like laugh out loud. I can ask like my customers questions and get to know them. And there isn't like that proper way that you have to show up and just like be, how are you? Good. Okay. Leave it at that. But it's like I can let my personality like just flow. I can be myself, like especially around my teams as well. And this is another point that was like very transforming for myself and my teams is after the Fort McMurray fires, we came back to Fort McMurray and we reopened all our Starbucks locations. And at the time, like our Starbucks top leadership got like therapists and counselors to come into town and do like a
Yeah.
group, session just where people can just express themselves, like my team and stuff. And we're in this meeting, but not everyone was really talking, and they'll be sharing just like surface point, like of what was happening, but no one was going deep. And something just came over me, and up to this day I don't even know where it came from. I started to talk, but then the words won't come out. And I started to do the boo boo cry. Like, boo boo cry is loud and it's like deep for the core. It's like I've been waiting to come
Snotty
out.
noses
Yeah,
and
totally. And it's like, I just want to come out and let me out. And after that happened, everybody, it was like just happening. Everybody else started like crying and sharing what they were feeling, and the heaviness of like being back and taking care of our customers and then going home, and then you're just exhausted emotionally. And it was really great for all of us to know that we're not alone, for all of us to know that, yeah, we're doing the best that we can. And for me as a leader, it was important for me to be vulnerable in that moment.
Mm,
I don't know what came over me, but I'm super grateful that it did, because then I let my team know, like, hey, it's okay for you to cry. If you're feeling that heaviness, it's okay for you to talk about what you're going through. It's okay for you to ask for help when you're in that moment that you're unsure of, where do I go from here? And after that, I remember one of my staff editor was like, oh my gosh, you're human, you cry. And before that, it's like I don't do things like that in front of my teams, right? Like I don't cry in front of them. Like I'll cry at home and stuff like that. But like where I'm at right now, like even if I'm out in a grocery store and someone tells me like a story and I feel very connected to it, I will express what I'm
yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
And even let's say a song comes on and it reminds me of like a moment in the past and I feel emotional and I got to tear up, I just let it out. And it's just like that honoring it part, like honoring like what I'm feeling as a leader and honoring like my growth, because the challenges that we face, it helps us grow. Like not seeing that as a negative, but as a positive. Like, okay, this is when I'm going to step in even more in my truth and show up authentically.
Mm. You know, Wendy Battles, who's on live with supporting us today. And by the way, Wendy, thank you. And thank you for everyone else here. And I'm going to go through some of these comments before we end the show because there's some awesome golden nuggets going on here. There's some bold, bodacious, beautiful nuggets going on here. She just typed in, it's so freeing when we can be our authentic self. So why? I mean, and I'm going to talk just to the women. And listen, I see Ty Calvin on here, so I'm not leaving you out, sir. I'm not leaving you out. I'm going to talk to the women. I'm just going to talk right here to all the women. Why are you trying to fake things? Says who? I'm going to listen.
Mhm.
Take it from me that faking it until you make it is get rid of those words, period, whether
Yeah.
you're doing some form of, like Estella just popped up here about preparation and all of that. Get rid of that faking until you make it, because there's preparations of practicing. There is leaning in, and I've heard people say, face the fear and do it anyways. Face the
Mhm,
fear and do it,
mhm.
anyway. But removing that. I got to fake it until I make it, because first of all, we
Mhm.
never know when we make it. There isn't a make it thing,
Yeah.
but it's really turning into ourselves. I mean, again, you're talking, sounds like the Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. That's one of my
Mhm.
favorite books, that Dare to Lead. And how do
So good.
we self lead teams? And
Mhm.
again, it's okay to be vulnerable. We've got so much crap going on out there. Oh, leaders not so sure. Well, a woman's supposed to sit this way, and you don't show your emotions because,
Mhm.
that is weakness. Okay. Oh, we've got a BS thing going on here
Yes.
today. That's BS. That's all BS. It's so empowering. I find so empowering when my imposter syndrome kicks up a little bit, and then the
Mhm.
poems,
Yes.
and then it's like, oh, my hag in the attic wants to take the volume on the radio up a couple levels. What is truly going on here? And to be able to pause and embrace and work through that, and
Mhm.
realize what I'm telling myself is all false evidence appearing real, and it literally is all BS. And
Yeah.
learning how to really embrace that authenticity and that vulnerability. The other thing, because I did not, when I was in corporate, well, when I was in corporate and when I had my fitness business. For those of you who are on here, my first business is a fitness business, and my business is still alive but very small. It was huge at one time. I fell asleep. It's part of my story. I fell asleep at a major intersection at a red light, not once but twice. Hell, I didn't even know I was even tired,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I was living upon others people's terms and opinions and society. And by the way, everybody that is listening to this, I want you to know I did this so you would choose me as a friend, so I would be accepted. I was getting sick. I was burnt out. I mean, I
Mhm.
fell asleep at a major intersection, not once, but twice. And thank God I didn't hurt myself or anyone else. And that was really the awakening on the unraveling of Kim Boudreaux Smith, facing lies, because I lied. I was building a phenomenal corporate career based upon lies. That's a whole other thing. And cleaning up all those lies. And I cleaned up all those lies. I mean, I
Mhm.
stepped in, and it's so empowering,
Mhm.
and it's so imperfect,
Yes.
and I don't have to apologize for it, and that's the beauty you bring to as I would like to say, the life of Rasie. Um that's the beauty of it,
Mhm.
that.
And Kim, like for a very long time I cared about what people think for a very long time, and that dictated the actions that I took in especially my personal life, not necessarily like on the professional end. And like I remember times where, like, even for instance, like with opening up my coffee shop, I remember asking some of like the people that were close to me, like, oh, what do you think about this idea, and then as I'm going through all the planning, I remember one of like my closest friends said to me, why do you just like keep working your 9 to 5? Like, you don't need to do that. Like, it just, you look so stressed out. And this is because like I'm still working full time and then working on like my business plan
Mhm.
at the time. And you know what, like each time like I pause and I actually question, like, why am I even doing this? If like this person sees that I'm stressed out, they probably seen what I don't see. And then eventually, like when I woke up and I was like, I've been so focused on other people's opinions that I'm actually not living my life. I'm living my life on their terms and not my terms. And the moment I started to live my life on my terms, I started to understand that, who you have in your circle, it is so important. And what your surrounding is like, that environment that you're like, okay, I'm going to operate in this, I'm going to live in this environment. It is so important because, like, that's where that's where like you feed like that energy, you feed like what you're capable of, or what you're made of, and oh, I gotta let go of those people's opinions, OPOs, because they're always gonna be there, but one life to live.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to say to all of that, we never perfect this, because I
Mhm.
have women
Yes.
come to me and they go, I have confidence. And you know what? We all have confidence. This is not
Mhm.
about building confidence, this is about
Yeah.
enhancing confidence.
Yes.
But I have women say to me, I want 100% confidence. Okay, well, first of all, drop the perfectionism coming from a recovering perfectionist.
Yeah.
We don't roll at 100% confidence. We don't roll at a 100% of much of any. We're human.
Mhm.
We will never absolutely perfect and complete releasing everybody other's opinions. There,
Yeah.
it's like the four agreement. The second agreement is don't take things personally. There's always going to be a little something in us. We can never we can never overcome 100% the hag in the attic, the inner critic. But we
Mhm.
need her on our team. There's all of that. But it's learning how to be unapologetic.
Mhm.
And women love to say, I'm sorry. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I ordered the salad dressing on the side. Well, what are you sorry for? Or asking for something and
Mhm.
then saying, oh, I know you're really busy now. Blah, 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 blah. Okay,
Yeah.
we still have that issue of
Yeah.
taking up space. Now, can that
Mhm.
become close to 100%? Yeah, I'd like to
Mhm.
see all women own space and roll at 95%. And these
Yeah.
again, these are my opinions. This is a
Yeah.
lot of the work that I do with women when they're really projecting and owning their bold voice. Absolutely, which and it even goes back to something earlier you were saying is honoring yourself. I mean, and you're
Mhm.
so good at that. You just sent me an email a few days ago submitting something to me, and you're like, I'm still relishing in what you put in the body of the email. Kim, I'm honoring myself. I've made it this far, that I've done A, B, and C. And I'm like, wow. I mean, like, that is like goosey.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a bold voice where we're
Yeah.
honoring ourselves, and you are very, very good. And 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 since I've known you, I want to acknowledge you. You've left a very toxic position,
Mhm.
and you are now I don't know if it's the same in America as it is in Canada, but can I say like a subcontractor, an independent contractor for another company,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
you're digging on the environment, and and
Yeah.
I know that they're relishing you because some of the things you've shared with
Oh,
me. And you're learning a lot, and
yeah.
isn't it beautiful when you really own your voice and you
Yeah.
land in a place where they're like, wow, I'm with a bunch of like-mindeds. We don't always have to
Yeah.
agree, but I'm with a bunch of like-mindeds, and I'm appreciative for what I bring to the table, and in turn I
Mhm.
can be just as appreciative
Yes.
with others as well.
Yeah.
I couldn't be happier for you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kim. It just hits different. And I definitely want to like share with I know like when I first met you and I shared something like very deep like with you that when I'm doing my videos or I'm on a live, I guess so okay, like I just have very high energy. Like I'm grateful for that and I continue to feed it, do the things that I have to do to stay high energy because I love it. And but whenever I do a video or go on a live or do an interview or podcast, I'm just so I have all this energy flowing and I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. What do
Mhm.
I do? And I remember sharing with you how I'll go for a run or I'll
Jumping
get
jacks.
yeah, and I'll start doing push-ups because I'm like, I need to express it, like something needs to happen. And but one thing that was missing, like before I started working with you, is that like yeah, I'm in the interviews, but I'm just like so focused on the sensations you call it instead of nerves. And I kind of get sort of like lost in it. Like I could be like 95% like present instead of like 100 or a little bit over. And you're like, okay, let's try all these things to, to get to calm like those sensations or recognize it. And I think for me, like the moment I started to name it, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're there, you're part of this, like, this journey that we're going on, but we're gonna show up anyways and just like do what we have to do. And that's something I'm super grateful for. And also raising the volume up on my
Yeah.
voice, because like I was like, where I was, and then you're like, you can actually go like higher, like let's do this. So yeah, so thank you for helping me show up with my bold voice and raising the volume.
I was just here supporting you. I mean, you did the
Hmm.
work, Resi, and you know something, myself, every woman deserves on their terms that volume of their voice and however that looks, whether it's here on LinkedIn, a podcast,
Hmm.
leading a team, exploding their businesses, being a podcast host like Wendy is, who's logged, who's joining us live today, um, whether it's a presenter, what a writer, if
Hmm.
you're writing, that is still a way of a voice, a TED talk, a keynote, whatever that may be. And the volume also stand behind on all of that is embracing your story and not being embarrassed,
Yes.
because, which I could blow the airwaves up right now, because part of the stuff, the reason why I fell asleep at the red light, and this is going to all come out, is one of the lies I was living, and very successful as a corporate person, was um, I lied about high school and college, because back in the day they didn't check that stuff, So guess what? I drove at night. I went at 48 years old. I drove for 15 weeks, and I took a night class, and I finished my high school diploma at the age of 50. I walked across the stage, cap and gown on, and graduated high school.
So awesome. So awesome.
Wait, and within all of that, within that next year, I finished my associate's degree, because I went on to college. I had I was in the midst of associate's degree. I finished that, and I also finished my 2 year coaching certification, all within 9 months. So I did, within 2 years time, I did all of that. So 50, I see women are like, oh, I'm dreading to turn 50. 50 rocks, man.
Yeah. It's never
So
too late.
yeah,
Never
no,
too
it's never
late.
too late. I want to I'm going to take a little turn here. You shared this with me, Resi, and um, it's coming to that day. Take yourself back into that day. What you had to do and turn in for that self leadership, is your husband at that time was 500-600 miles away, and what happened that morning, and you're in Vancouver. The whole thing. If you could share that with us, and how you keep turning in and moving forward.
Hmm. Yeah, like when I got before I actually got the news about my late husband passing, um we had not spoken for about three to 4 hours, and that was very unusual. And that's unusual for me, like with a lot of my relationships. Like I go like I keep them very healthy and very connected. That's like super important to me. So when I'd not heard from him for about 3 or 4 hours, I knew something was wrong. I knew something was wrong in a sense that he wasn't able to reach his phone
Mm,
to say Rasie good night, or hey, like, I'm doing this, or I broke my phone, or I lost my phone. And I was home alone at this time, and I hear a knock on the door. This is after I was like struggling to go to sleep, and I just couldn't sleep. I probably rubbed every sage oil that I had at the
mm,
time just so I can fall asleep. And knock came on the door, and it's like, this is weird. I didn't let anybody in my apartment building. Um, and I looked through the door, and I saw the blue uniform. It's like, oh, and it's like something just like said to me, like, your world is about to get rocked.
mm.
Like, not even rocked, it's like in pieces. And the things that you don't imagine, like, ever. um and so I opened the door, and literally as I opened the door, I said to him, just tell me that he's okay. Like he's in the hospital and he's fighting and he's okay. Um, and he's like, I need you to sit down. Whew. When he told me that he needed me to sit down, that's when I knew, even before him saying that Yusuf didn't make it. So he managed. I don't even remember like what happened from the door to the couch, and I was sitting on the couch, and I just remember just calling one of my friends. I was like, I need you to come here. Like, I was like crying, and I was just like in shock. I was like, this is weird. Like, I feel like I'm in a dream, and I need to wake up like right now. Like, I needed to wake up like hours ago. And when that happened, it's a couple things too. Like, I want to like touch on like that self care part, and then that, like what my purpose is. From that, it's like while I was like in that deep grief and really going through what I was going through, and like my best friend wasn't there, like the person that I talked to about everything, like I'm saying everything, knew everything about me, and didn't judge me for like a second, like certain things that I've gone through or decisions that I've made in my life. And I had to learn how to do this on my own. And I remember checking up on people, like his closest friends. Like, how are you doing? This is when I was in shock, for sure. And I didn't even know like what was about to happen. Like I'm still just like not believing it. And one of my closest girlfriends said to me, she's like, you need to stop checking up on people and start like doing things for you and take care of yourself. So, because of my experience with Fort McMurray and working with a counselor, I thought right away, I was like, if I'm going to get through this, like, I need therapy. Like, I need help with this. Like, this is not, it's not something I can suppress. And then there's like another part of me that kept on showing up. It's like that strong part that is like, this is not it. We can't stay here. Like, there's more that we need to do. Um, so with that experience, I started to learn how to care for myself and put like my mental health first, like my physical health first, um, and really just understand that I needed to do that soul work. I needed to get to know myself. Was it easy? Absolutely not. It was
Mm-mm.
very, very difficult because I had to close off on certain relationships with people that you know and it's not like intentionally they were saying things to like upset me, but that's just like where they were at, and I'm moving a certain direction, and I needed someone who's gonna like be supportive, not tell me what to do, but be supportive and respect the path that I'm taking. So as more I put some work into like my self-care, I started to understand like who I am and what is my being, and accepting myself for who I am. Like I might, walk into a room and have like a very loud laugh and really owning that and not worry about, oh, is that person going to be, upset that I'm laughing this hard at this event and stuff like that. Or, and then also with like the purpose. So I had a moment where I actually shared about this on LinkedIn on one of my posts where I was ready to give up. I was tired and I was exhausted, and it was almost like like I feel good, like I wake up in the morning, like that first few seconds, and all of a sudden it's like I'm reminded of everything that just happened like the last few days of my life, and I'm right back where I was before. And I call up one of my brothers, and I'm like, I'm tired. I want this to like to be over. I'm tired. And he said to me, you need to trust the process.
Mm.
Whew. When he said that, I don't know if I was more upset or because I'm like, how could you tell me to trust the process? Like I'm in so much pain, and I just want this pain to like stop. And but then as days went on, I carried that with me up to today. When things are going a way that I don't want it to go, it's not as planned, I need to trust the process, because whatever I'm going through, it's part of me getting to where I need to be, you know? And and I just needed to trust the process. Um and Kim, like that was a rebirth for me because it woke me up. It's like I was sleeping and comfortable and, just like, even though I was still doing the 100% that I knew at the time, um, I couldn't, like, it's like I started to live my purpose. Like I started to help leaders lead their teams more effectively. And then I wrote my book, and I am mentoring youth in Sierra Leone. And it's like after that rebirth, there was impact. It was just like just woke up with impact to just help other people lead their lives better.
First of all, thank you so much for allowing me to have you on this platform and to share that story, because I know a lot of people don't know that story.
Mhm.
And I, again, I'm so sorry, and I'm for your loss, and I'm so in admiration of you, Rasie, because you are young, and your husband was young when he passed. I mean, it doesn't make things any easier. But yes, high five, yes, to trusting the process. And we
Mhm.
are also a society, and I don't care where we are from. We are a
Yeah.
society. We don't know how to grieve. I mean,
No.
I'm still learning how to grieve from losing my father back at the end of January, and
Mhm.
we're in September. I'm still,
Yeah.
learning how to do that. We're not taught that as young kids and in our society of how to grieve. It's like you're calling and checking up on people because you're in shock. And thank goodness you had that amazeballs friend saying, "Oh, time out. Stop
Yeah.
checking on people. It's your turn." It's I
Yeah.
think we as women, when we're leading and ambitious and we're owning things unapologetically, we also like to hold things together.
Yeah. Mhm.
When we're in the midst of things, we need to be around a community of people that will let us, like what your husband did that one day when you came in after dropping your mom with it, to be able
Mhm.
to let us go and hold that space. We talked about this,
Yeah.
Laura, my guest, and I last week talked about that, holding that space and not, getting someone nervous that, oh, I've got to fix her, or I got to tell her what
Yeah.
to do next, or wait, hang on, let me hug her and give her Kleenex. No, because we cork those emotions, number one, when we do things like that. But
Yeah.
learning how to, it's gathering up the people of how to just sit, be calm, be so present, and hold that
Mhm.
space as you are moving through that. And
Yeah.
yes, and you are such an inspiration. I don't know your husband. I know he's watching you and going, "You go, girl," every single damn day. I know he is. I know he is.
Yeah,
Um,
and Kim, I do want to touch on like what you just shared with people being there and being supportive, like when we're going through grief. And something I learned is not many people have been through grief or experienced grief or experienced somebody else grieving,
mhm,
And for me, like when I was with my husband, unfortunately, we lost his brother and then we lost his mom, and in such a short period of time, and just experiencing what he was going through, I
yeah,
think that really helped me understand of how to be there for people the way they want you to be there for them. I think that's super important because most times people will not, they'll tell you to stop crying because they're uncomfortable. That's what it is.
yeah,
And the until the moment we're all comfortable being uncomfortable because that person's crying and express themselves, it's really hard to be supportive of that. And that's where relationships kind of, you people kind of like not walk away from your life, but you come at a distance because
yeah.
uncomfortable of this person you're becoming and that you're transforming and going through, right? um but I think if like people that we're around when we're grieving and they're not comfortable with being uncomfortable because of the way we're expressing our grief, like that's not your support system. You almost have to go and find a support system.
And that is so very true, because we all handle things differently. And
Mhm.
again, that's a lot of introspective work that we do on ourselves to be able to be
Yeah.
comfortable with someone that's sitting there crying. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah.
I remember a moment, a time a couple of years ago when I was facilitating in person back in the day when we were doing lots of things in person. I can remember when a woman would break down, because it's moving when you're owning your voice and stuff. It would break down, and a couple of the women would have to jump up, get over, put their hands on there, and I would have to address and say, just please, can
Mm.
everyone just sit down? Don't worry, there's Kleenex in the middle of the table. And there's sometimes when we are moving through things like that, we don't need a Kleenex right away. Let the
No.
snots come, let the tears come, just let them come.
Waterfall.
We'll get you the Kleenex, but sometimes
Yeah.
you just need to purify like that. And
Yeah.
being comfortable sitting in a room without passing judgment, or
Mhm.
checking in, okay, I've got some uncomfortable sensations going on. I'm going to pause my sensations so I can be present for the person that is going through some things. It's a
Mm.
very hard thing. And
It is.
that's and anything in general is, let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable in
Yeah.
situations, and let's allow others to do and be how they do and be. Unfortunately, we are
Mm.
become a society of, if you're not doing and being my way, you better hit the freaking highway. And
Yeah.
and I'm, it's
Sounds
like
like a song.
enough. Yeah, I know. ACDC. It's enough of this though. It's learning how to open our arms and embrace. And if it's not an area for you, pardon me,
Yeah.
um, then maybe you need to check in and find a different community.
100%. 100%.
We've got
Okay.
some allergies going on here.
Yeah. No
Before I
worries.
wrap this show up, I want to acknowledge somebody here.
Okay.
Had some semi. I know I'm probably mispronouncing your first name, and apologies. Excuse me. What is some of the advice you share with young women entering a male-dominated profession? Uh-oh. This is
I
a tough
know
one.
he's sending me there. Oh my goodness. I you got to get to know yourself. You have to know like who you are to the core and what things you value and why are you doing the things that you're doing, and really let that guide you. Because like from my experience, like really holding on to my values, it helped me maintain my integrity, always doing the right thing for the benefit, like making sure I'm coming from a full place, like a full cup, and helping other people. And also with the why, is your why has to be stronger than you. It has to be like above you. And for me, I'm paving the way for our youth, and I'm helping now leaders and future leaders lead their teams more effectively, starting with their self leadership. I think there's so much more love and there's so much more possibilities with leading from a place of love
Yeah.
and really knowing who you are to the core. And there's always room to learn more. Always room. Yeah.
I heard the V word, values. Listen, if
Mhm.
anybody on here is listening, you don't know what your top 3 to 5 values are. There's you can Google some value exercising things to do.
Mm.
They're a lot of fun. These value
Yeah.
exercising things, and and get down to your at least your top 5 values. It's a process of eliminations with words, what's important to you, but you've
Mhm.
got to know your value. And I love that. When you said the big why, I'm like, oh yeah, it's encompassing me. I could feel it. It's
Yeah.
our why and why we're doing all this, and get real clear
Mhm.
with the values, the why. the yes and the no, and the yes and the
Mm,
no's, and no's, no's, no's. And you know what? And by the way, the no's, no's, no's doesn't mean the no's here. It's no's, and without a damn dissertation with
yeah.
because you're saying no, because you don't give a dissertation when you're saying yes. I mean,
Mm-mm.
learning how to say no, and that can really turn into that internal self care and that soul care. All right.
Yeah.
What Izzy, what do you have up your sleeve that we all need? Where can first of all, besides LinkedIn, where else can we get in touch with you? LinkedIn, LinkedIn, LinkedIn. Where else? And what's up your sleeve?
I am also on Instagram, and you can find me at www.rbjumpstartcoaching.com. And there's actually like one thing that I will leave our audience with. There's 24 hours in one day, and we all have the same 24 hours. And the moment you let that 24 hours go by without making a decision of, okay, where I'm at right now, I want to stop making these same mistakes of not leading my life effectively. I want to take action. And in those 24 hours, it is so precious. Like when it's gone, it's gone. Like all of us here right now, we don't know if we have tomorrow. But what you leave behind for your teams and the people that look up to you is super important that you take action like as soon as possible.
So I love that you're reading my mind today because my last question to you would be, and your last remaining bold words, you just summed it all up and just made my job even easier. Thank you very
That's
much.
awesome.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
It
going to leave. I'm going to close the show out like I do every single week. I thought I wasn't going to do this in season 2. I did it in season 1. It's one of my most favorite things. I will be placing this in my book. And oops, did I say book?
Woo!
Up, up, up. It will be a tiny book. But anyways, I leave everybody with bold. Be bold enough to listen to your heart and more so to follow it. Your heart has always known exactly who you are and what you are made of and what you are made for. Your heart has always known that you were meant for so much more and that you deserve to live feeling free. Start listening to your heart. It has always known the way, and that is by Walk the Earth. I love it. And, I've heard from, I could go on another hour with you, Rizzy. I've heard from you that that knock on the door, the 24 hours, we never know. We
Yeah.
never know. I mean, it could be something like driving down the street, like I said earlier, and getting a flat tire, and dealing with aging parents, or
Mhm.
doesn't even have to be aging parents, or a
Yeah.
significant other, is we
Mhm.
have to follow our heart, because
Yeah.
when we are not following our heart does this,
Mm.
and you get all sorts
Mhm.
of other things. We get that dis-ease with the
Yes.
disease of ourselves. We become so uneasy. And I want to reflect on a couple of people, again, Wendy's saying it is so freeing to be your authentic self. And, and
Mhm.
she was also saying yes to leading on purpose and the rebirth. And she said, so profound. And
Mhm.
uppercase letters of yes, trust the process. And Stella Liebert, who is joining us today as well, is also saying those naysayers, they like to get in our face. That's
Mhm.
when I like to use the analogy. Hmm. Is this a weed or is this a flower in my garden? It's a weed. Do I want it growing there? No. So I pick it out to give more room for the flowers to grow. Doesn't
Wow.
mean there's something ugly and horrible about weeds, because it's still something growing in the earth, but it's my choice. I don't want it in my garden, and I want more room for the roots of the stuff that I want. That's what we need to look at with when we've got
Mhm.
naysayers coming at us. And
Yeah.
by the way, the more you all own your bold voice and the more visible you become, you are going to have a naysayer here or there.
Mhm.
That's where we get to go. And this is way before your time, Razzie. Go back to the lost in space of the force field, the boundaries, the force field. And the stronger of that force field, OMG,
Mm.
the less of those naysayers you hear. If you're looking for the naysayers, you're going to find them. It's like me when I get in my little car, like a little old lady on the expressway. Oh my God, the people are driving fast. I'm looking for it and I see it. So it's
Oh,
very, 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 very similar. Everybody else who joined us today, Asher, thank you so much, and um, all of you joining in and being here, for myself and Rasie. We so appreciate it. And Rasie, thank
thank
you so
you.
much for being our guest. Stay tuned. Next week, I got one more episode for season 2. Same place, same time, LinkedIn Live. Make it a
Thank
great week,
you.
everybody. Oh, I was going to show my scenery, wasn't I?
Yeah, I think you should.
All right. I before we go, and so when Rasie was sitting here talking to me, every so often I'm looking up over my laptop. For those of you who are still here, I'm going to turn very slowly, and this is the scenery. Tell me when you can see it, Rasie, because now I'm behind
Yes,
it.
now you're there.
Can you see it?
Yes, it's
So
so
this is the scenery
beautiful.
I am looking at through this whole show. This is the scenery I am looking at all week long. Everybody that is Lake Michigan, northern Michigan is absolutely stunning. I was born and raised in Michigan, and I still am amazed by all of that. So I wanted to give you a blessing from Lake Michigan. So everyone get out there and enjoy the week.
Thanks, Kim.
Bye bye.